Hello, welcome to my channel Conscious Growing. I'm Matthias, and today I want to try something new, and this will be some kind of a crossover video. And what I mean is, my personal background is that I'm an Alexander Technique teacher for about 20 years, and um, 2 years ago I got a corona infection, and then shortly after another one. And after that, I really struggled with severe symptoms and tried to find my way out. And all the things that helped me, I'm joining on this channel. And today, I want to add an aspect of the Alexander work, which is a body-mind work. And recently I came back to some of the ideas and the knowledge I got from this work over all these years in exchange in my own teaching and all the wisdom I got from teachers. And recently I recognized that there's a very strong habit in all sufferers who deal with physical symptoms, physical pains, anxiety, and so on. And what's common for all of them and most of them is that, and I include myself, is that there is lots of attention in the symptoms and how they affect me, and focus on the anxiety symptoms and so on. And for most people, it's not easy to shift the attention to something else. And even when you are familiar with some body-mind concepts, and when you have the knowledge that this is all based on a misinformed brain, means the brain perceives in the end most of the situations as a threat. And so today I want to use the very body to play a little bit with these kind of habits, I want to call them. So the habit is, I easily get stuck on the sensation, the uncomfortable sensations. And what I did was to talk about a lot how to deal with them, how to even get used to be with unpleasant states, allow the anxiety to be there, and all of this. And this still has its value and its time, but today we want to tackle this habit of ruminating, being too fixed on the body, too focused on the symptoms, and so on. So what I want you to invite to is to, if it's possible for you, to find a chair. And if you got this chair, I want you, like me here, I have nothing to lean on. I'm just sitting on this chair. And so what I'm also doing is I put my feet parallel to each other in a 90-degree angle. And I'm just playing a little bit with my sitting. Means I'm just checking, how do I sit right now? Am I more on the right side maybe? Or am I more on the left side? And maybe we can find out together the middle. And the middle is when you recognize and when you experience yourself sitting on these two little sitting bones, the end of the spine, and these little sitting bones, they allow us to balance on these both sitting bones. So as you see, it's a very subtle movement. It's not a big movement. It's just play a little bit with these sitting bones, left and right. And so what I'm doing here, as you might recognize, is I don't fall with my attention on the sitting bones themselves. But in other words, I don't need to be with my full awareness here. So what I mean is my awareness is still in my brain, in the physical brain. So I'm just connected from my brain, from my physical brain, and I'm sending my attention to the sitting bones. And from there, I'm experiencing this subtle movement. And when I come to stop, I want to find this kind of balance that my weight is balanced out on both sitting bones equally. That's all. And now I want to, so we leave this alone for now, and I want to add something else. And what I'm adding is my hand and my arm. And so again, I want to invite myself and I want to invite you to shift your attention from your symptoms to a very subtle and slow movement. So what might happen now is we're shifting attention. So the nature of symptoms and anxiety is it might get louder. So it was used to have your full attention most of the time. And now we want to create a tiny little break between your attention on your symptoms, your anxiety, and we want to come back to the body. And allow me to invite you to move your fingertips. So means let the fingertips lead the movement. The fingertips lead the movement. And then from there on, we can be some kind of playful with it. So you want to explore the movement, means wherever you go, your fingertips lead the movement. And as you can see, the arm follows. You can imagine like a snake, the head leads and the rest of the snake follows. And what I want you to do, or at least try to do for the beginning, is to don't do this movement with your brain, with your conscious brain. Yeah? Don't decide what kind of movement you do. You just follow your intuition and you let the arm follow, fingertips. So, and then I'm aware, so what I also can do is, most of the times these muscles are tensed up and heavy from anxiety, from pains and so on. So what we want to do, we want to shift the quality of this movement. Means we can imagine that still the fingertips lead, but the whole arm is light. And you want to find the lightness and the idea of lightness in this arm as much as it is possible for this moment. and you just play with it. So where is the attention? The attention is in the movement, but still I want to keep this concept going, or this idea going, that your mind stays in the brain. In other words, your brain and your brain is a place, and inside this brain there are it's your mind, and your mind, your thoughts, they give a direction to these fingertips. So in other words, the attention is not mainly in the movement, it's just secondary. The main attention is in the physical brain, and from there we send our fingertips away from our backs, for example, and the rest of the arm follows light as possible. So if it starts to ache or you feel some exhaustion, it's okay. So this is unusual to do in the beginning. When you feel you do a lot of effort, then you can rest your arm on the thigh muscle, for example, and then just see and compare your left arm or the right arm, whichever you started with, and you see a difference maybe now in the resting position. You might feel that the arm that was just moved is a little bit lighter. Possibly check it for yourself. And then we can bring our attention to the other arm. And before we start the movement, we can meet our fingertips already. Again, from the brain. So there is a connection from the brain to the fingertips. Like you make the connection within yourself. And when you're there, you can start the movement. So here it comes. The right arm leads. And of course everything is possible. Your fingertips can lead, and this can open the wrist, for example. And it can open in the other direction. So I don't push anything. I don't stiffen my fingers. I don't push something. I take the hand as it is right now. Only this. Don't push anything. And in between you can come back to this awareness that this arm, this hand, this arm is connected with your back, with your whole spine, with your neck. And you do this movement. And again, when you do it, your anxiety or your physical symptoms might get louder. And here's the key. You allow the voice of anxiety or maybe the voice, what I'm doing here, or it starts to get more uncomfortable maybe. Whatever appears, you are clear with your focus. And the focus is right now exploring this movement. Fingertips lead, arm follows, and the more you move, the more you already recognize that this movement, a light arm led by the fingertips, opens the torso here, opens this huge latissimus muscle on our back. So we don't want to push it muscular. I don't push my shoulder. I let my fingertips lead the movement, and this movement invites the movement more effortlessly, and the opening just happens naturally. Yeah, and I can go on and you can go on, and you might feel some physical tension while you do it, while you open here, because it's most likely that these muscles have become quite tensed and tight within time. And now it's like we are lifting something. And so you can see also the elbow points away from my back, the fingertips lead. So what I want to do when I go down, what happens most of the times is the arm goes there and the torso also goes there. So what I'm doing is I'm tensing here. So I come back to this idea, my head is on top of the spine, and I separate this head on top of the spine and the movement. Means I keep the volume of my system, I keep the volume of my body. And now I'm resting with both arms, and I stop for a moment and I just sense what has happened. How do I feel right now? How do you feel right now? How are your shoulders right now? How are your arms right now? What do you experience? And what we are looking here is we don't look for results. We're just looking for senses. How do we feel? What do I feel? For example, what I recognized, I don't know if you saw it, I saw that when I was resting already, I could still allow to drop my shoulders more. There was still some rest tension here, and I was able to recognize this and to allow my shoulders to drop more. And so you might feel, it might feel strange to you, new, surprisingly more space, maybe even more anxiety because you just opened up yourself a little bit. This is quite common. But to work on anxiety and I mean, I don't want to say work on an anxiety. Nevertheless, we always want to anxiety be there, but also we have the possibility to let anxiety be there, let symptoms be there. We don't do this exercise of trying to get rid of them, but we only use it to shift our attention to something else and something that's also there. The possibility of expansion is also there. And in this little exercise, you can experience this. And because now you are in a framework where you can decide where you want to go. Do you want to go to your symptoms? Do you want to go to your negative thoughts? Do you want to go to your rumination? Or can we cut this cycle for a moment and just for a few moments or for 1 or 2 minutes just explore this movement, the light arm, the fingers lead, and that's all. And then I rest, I sense myself, and then I might do it again. And what I find is the more I add these things to my daily routine, like finding this playful time for myself, I just shift the attention away from the anxiety symptoms and sensations. And what I'm doing is I make a new habit out of it. So the new habit is I shift away the interest for sensations, because we have been there for so long. And as you might know, these sensations, anxiety sensations and physical symptoms, are not dangerous. And what can happen here is, as I said at one point, is like when the body opens, symptoms might get more intense and stronger. That's expected. But as you see, or as you saw, it's a very gentle way of doing it. And you want to do it in the most gentle way with yourself. And really asking yourself why you do the movement. How can I be lighter? How can this movement be more fluent? How can I do it with less effort? And so these questions are part of your awareness and your attention while you do it. And then, of course, you're free to repeat it. And sorry, I sometimes explore myself that I'm totally get lost in this slow movement, and this calms me down, because, as said before, I shift my attention away from the negative, that bothers me. And so what I think is, when you are listening to this, and even if you are not in that shape to sit for long, and maybe even you can only do it on the couch, or you can do it lying in bed, you can still do this. And of course, you can use the support of a chair. You can lean on the chair. So what you don't want to do is, you don't want to collapse in it. You don't want to get tensed in the chair, but you can use you can lean on the chair and kind of get support for your back. And that's a different thing. You see here, I'm leaning back. I'm using the imaginary chair, and the other version is like collapsing into it and then tensing up here. This is what we don't want to. So this exercise will definitely expand the body in a very subtle way. And yeah, so I'm gonna end up here for today. If you have any further questions, and if you really tried it out, please let me know what worked for you and what didn't. And so also, yeah, all questions are welcome, of course. And so if you don't know this channel, then I would be glad that you subscribe, and thumbs up are always welcome. And also, you find that I'm starting to teach people with the knowledge of the Alexander technique work, but also of my own path through physical symptoms and anxiety. So if you're interested in more, you are welcome to get in touch. You find a link down below. So take care, and wishing you the best for now. Bye.